Yay Networks.
The thing that they don't tell you about starting a podcast is that once you say you're going to start a podcast, you actually have to do it.
I know. We're here, Shane.
I don't think we realize that.
I know. We're actually doing it.
We're doing it. Almost against our will.
Do you know what you want to talk about?
I have a general idea. I think we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Everyone listening, this is what happens when you have no idea what your podcast is going to be because you've made it that way by calling it Junkyard Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching us figure it out in real time.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm Shane.
I'm Hannah.
And this is Junkyard Mayhem.
So this is the first episode of our podcast.
Yes.
We have no idea what we're doing. We are going to introduce you to ourselves, our podcast. We'll just see where it takes us.
When in doubt, just talk about yourself.
That's what we're going to do. So today's episode is going to be a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
We are going to tell you all about ourselves, how we met, the beginning of our channel, how this podcast came together. And we also have a special announcement, a new development about our pregnancy and parenting journey. So we're really excited. I know.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that later on. But should we begin, Shane, with
Let's do it.
starting early on? What is Junkyard Mayhem?
Oh, you're hitting me with the hardest one.
I didn't want that question, so I just thought I'll give it to Shane right away, and he can answer it, and then I won't have to.
Well, Junkyard Mayhem is many things.
Oh, boy.
It is what many people are saying might be a religion.
No.
That's a
no.
joke. No, it's not. Junkyard Mayhem is the next step in Hannah and Maya's quest to educate the world about disability, basically.
Yep.
So Hannah and I are YouTubers, and we have a very popular channel called Squirmy Grubs, where we share our interabled love life. Basically, I use a wheelchair. I've used a wheelchair my whole life. Hannah is non-disabled and does most of my daily care. We're also married. I should mention that. Yeah.
Well, we can get into all sorts of things about us, but we do share our lives online quite a bit, obviously. But there's a lot going on in our lives right now that felt like we needed more space to just talk about it, you know, not so like vlog style, whatever. Like we have a lot of things that we just want to say.
Yeah, and like this is going to be much more conversational and fun. We're going to sprinkle in interviews and games and stories. So, you know, I think it allows for a lot more spontaneity and flexibility than maybe a YouTube video does. So
Yeah, and that's why we called it Junkyard Mayhem.
we called it Junkyard Mayhem. We'll get into the actual reason
Yeah.
behind the name, but yeah, we called it that because it's just going to be mayhem.
Yep.
You're never going to know what you get week to week. And that is probably our producer's worst nightmare, that we're like being so vague about what you're going to get, but
Yep.
we're going to make it worth it for you.
They're like, no, actually, what are we doing? And we're like, no, seriously.
No, that's
it's
the
mayhem.
point. We have no idea. But, you know, in all the work that Hannah and I do, both as, you know, advocates on YouTube, we're also public speakers and authors. All of our work is focused on improving the way society understands disability. If we have learned anything from our time online, it's that people have some pretty flawed and twisted and negative beliefs about disability, and we're hoping that we can use our story and our life to help that.
Yep.
So today we're going to go a little bit deeper into who we are, how this podcast came about, and what you can expect going forward.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited. So I think that everyone's going to wonder, why are we called Squirmy Grubs?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the most common question.
I know. I was about to say, do you remember when we kept it a secret early on?
I do.
It was a secret on our channel for like 8 months, and then we finally told people.
About who is Squirmy and who is Grubs.
Yeah, and what those names even meant.
It's because we were embarrassed. It's not because we were being like smart about it. We were just like, oh, this is embarrassing.
We don't really want to say. And then it got to the point where we had to say. And now every speaking engagement we do, every video we put up, we get the question, who's Squirmy, who's Grubs, and why are those your names?
So these were our adorable and very cringy nicknames for one another, pet names,
Yeah.
you might call them, for each other from very early on in our relationship.
I am called Squirmy by Shane because he claims that I squirm around in bed at night and like keep him awake.
It's not a claim.
It is.
It's a fact. Like, I'm going to set up the camera tonight and I'm going to record you in your sleep and I'm going to share it online. And people are going to see that you are a rotisserie chicken in bed. You just gyrate the whole night.
I sleep very soundly, so I just don't see how that's possible.
That is evidence of how right I am. You are sound asleep. You have no idea what you're doing.
I will say that I do move around in bed a lot. Like I understand that. I accept it. And the other night I was rolling around fully asleep and woke myself up by slamming my knees into Shane's butt.
Yeah,
So-
and you know who else that woke up violently?
Yeah, well, you yelled.
I woke up with a yelp. You read that in like books and stuff, someone woke up with a fright. I've always rolled my eyes at that. That's not real. That doesn't
Yep.
happen. When you get kneed in the rear end from a like collegiate swimmer with the legs of steel, just pummeling your rear.
It was really violent.
I moved in bed because of. I'm a lot smaller than you.
It hurt my knees. That's
Hurt your knees.
heavy impact.
Anyway, do you want to explain to them why I am Grubs?
Yeah, so I call Shane Grubs because his hands are always really sweaty and grubby. And I don't know if it has to do with SMA. I don't know if it's just a Shane specific quirk, but his hands are always really grubby.
You should feel them right now. I dare you to reach over. Go ahead. Feel my pinky.
No, thank you. I can only imagine how sweaty they are right now.
So we began lovingly calling each other these names just to poke fun.
Yeah.
And when we started our YouTube channel, we really didn't think anyone would be watching. So we just put the names Squirmy and Grubs, not really even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And now everyone watches. So now you all know our embarrassing pet names.
Yep. I think we should talk a little bit about starting our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe we should actually go further back into how we met.
Let's do it.
Because there are years before the YouTube channel that we should probably talk about.
We should definitely go that far back. Maybe even all the way back.
Maybe we should talk about our births first.
I'm thinking Big Bang. This podcast is going to be a slow developing one. We're going to start out in the prehistoric times. Eventually, we'll get to our YouTube channel.
It's going to be a bit.
No, but yeah, why don't we tell them a little bit about how we met and
Yeah.
like, how that all came about? Because it is a pretty wild
It is.
story.
We talk about that sometimes. We're like, can you believe that we actually met? So we met about 6 years ago. Actually, we're coming up on 7.
It's almost 7.
I've been saying 6 for quite a while. It's more than 6.5. And I was a freshman in college in Minnesota. Shane had just graduated from college and he was living in Pennsylvania where he grew up.
So pause right there.
Oh boy.
Hannah's living in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm living in Pennsylvania. If you're not from the United States, there are about 1,000 miles. I don't know how many kilometers that is.
Yeah.
A lot. In between Minnesota and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's like a 18-hour drive.
Yep.
We should not have met.
I know. We really shouldn't have met. Plus, you're like 4 years older than me. Like, we wouldn't have met in college. Like, there's just no way we ever would have met. So it's really interesting. But anyway, I was a freshman in college. I saw a YouTube video about Shane that one of my favorite actors, Rainn Wilson from The Office, had made. And it was like a mini documentary about the nonprofit that Shane ran and the book he had written and just his life in general. And when I saw that, I was doing a break from studying for finals. It was midnight. I was done studying. I was unwinding by watching YouTube videos. And I was like, oh my God, I really feel like I would get along with this person. Like, I wish that we were friends. And so I sent Shane an email being like, hi, I'm Hannah. This is a little about me. Like, I saw this video.
I think you're the most charming human being that's ever existed.
Yeah, that was a subtext that you read into it. Didn't quite say that, but
I'm
sure.
absolutely smitten.
Whatever. So I was like, hi. And then by the time I woke up in the morning, I had completely forgotten that I sent this email because, again, it was like midnight. I was delirious from studying. I was exhausted. And I had a response from Shane in my email inbox. And I was like, who is this person? Like, what is this? I scrolled down. I saw that I had emailed him first. I was like, oh my God, I think I remember this. And we began texting that day. We FaceTimed the next day, and it was well timed because I then went on my spring break after finals, and that spring break was just us FaceTiming every possible second.
Well, it was wild how quickly and like aggressively
Yeah.
we felt a strong connection.
Yeah.
Like I opened that first email from Hannah, and yeah, as Hannah said, I had just published my first book. I was running a nonprofit called Laughing at My Nightmare, which I still run today, that provides medical equipment to people with disabilities. And so I got a good number of emails from people just saying, hey,
And from that video.
and from the video that Rain had made.
Yeah.
And very often, the messages said something to the effect of like, wow, I can't believe that you are able to be happy even with your disability. Or I can't believe that even using a wheelchair, you were able to publish a book. Like things that had a very kind of negative undertone to them. So, I took all of my emails with a bit of a grain of salt. Then I opened this email from Hannah, and all it talked about was what we had in common, the kind of humor that we shared. And I knew so quickly that I wanted to know more about her. No, I had no intention of marrying her
I
and
know.
like beginning a life together. But I was just like, oh wow, like she seems really smart and really funny. We should talk.
And that was the same feeling I had.
Mhm.
Both of us were like, oh, wow, I feel like we would get along.
Yeah.
And we did get along, like,
We
very,
did.
very well. We said, I love you.
Oh,
Should
you're
I
telling
say?
them?
Should I? I don't know. I
Uh,
paused because I was like, well, is this embarrassing?
I think we have to now.
We said, I love you 2 weeks after that initial email over
Boom.
FaceTime before we met in person.
And we were right.
Yeah, we were right.
I think that would have been really weird and cringy had to be then like broken up, a year later.
Yep.
But it was love.
And I mean, like, our poor parents, because they probably were like, odds are this isn't going to work out. Like, you just met this person who lives 1,000 miles away. Like,
Yeah.
I was a freshman in college. Like, what are you doing?
I definitely didn't tell my parents that I told you I loved you. Like right away.
I didn't
I definitely
either.
held off a little bit on
But
that
I'm
one.
just saying, like, they eventually were like, oh, these two are really in love. And like, uh-oh, it's probably not going to work out. But look, it did.
I think we should probably like do a deeper dive on the early years of our life in a different episode
Mm-hmm.
because there's like years before we even thought of beginning a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff happened in there.
I know.
It was like 4 years, right? 3 years maybe?
Yeah, it was about
I
3.
don't know how to do math.
It was like 2.5, 3.
So like we had tons of experience
Yeah.
in this time when we were long distance,
Yep.
but very in love and like trying to figure out how we could visit each other
Yeah.
as often as possible.
And then moving in together. We lived together for a while before.
Moving in,
Yeah.
a lot happened. But let's bring them up to like we decided eventually to create a YouTube channel.
Yes, we did.
And just like Junkyard Mayhem, we really had no idea what we were doing, why we were doing it
Yeah.
until we began.
It was the same thing. And I think, like, we had made a video. We've talked about this a little bit, but never, I don't know if we've talked about it specifically, but the year before we made our YouTube channel, Shane and I were still long distance, and we went on a month-long road trip together
Yep.
to make sure that we were compatible for like a long period of time.
I don't think that was explicit.
I
I think it was implicit and like we realized after the fact, but
I think it was a little explicit. We were like, haha, a month together. Like,
true.
like we
Yeah.
definitely joked about it. It was like the point of the road trip was that I had been studying abroad for a couple of months and we hadn't seen each other. And we were like, we need to be together. This is awful.
Yeah.
And it can't be for less than a month, or it's not, like, we just need to be together for as long as possible. But I think we did use the road trip to be like, hey, we, even
Yeah.
after a month together on the road alone, like traveling across the country, and we planned like 12-hour days. It was a bizarre road trip that we planned.
It was a ridiculous road trip. And we
Ridiculous.
stopped in the weirdest places,
Yeah, it
too.
was not normal at all. It was the
We
strangest
were
road
like,
trip.
stop 1, North Dakota.
Yeah.
That's how
Stop
you
2,
kick off a road trip.
South Dakota. Yeah, we stopped in some interesting little places.
We did end up going to like Yellowstone, Denver. I
Yep.
think we made it down to Texas
Yeah, and then
in
Mobile,
a town that had like 3 people.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Like we
yeah.
stopped a lot of places, and then all like to Florida and up.
And by the end of that trip, we were still in love.
Yes. And we had made a video about that trip. That's why I brought it up. We filmed that trip and sent it to our parents, like in an email. We were like, look at this video we made about our trip together, and had so much fun making that video. I knew that I liked editing videos. Like when I was growing up, I would make little videos with friends that were like jokes.
Oh, I need to see those.
I wish I still had them.
I remember you showed me one where you were wearing a wedding dress and it
Yeah.
was like a murder or something.
No, I don't have that. I showed you a picture from filming that. I do not have my copy of that film.
We'll put that picture in your Instagram stories.
That was a true film. Like it had a plot. I was like 16. It was amazing.
Okay, so Hannah's always been destined to be a YouTuber.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I wasn't
jeez.
posting those publicly. So our first video was not public. It was just for our families. And then the next year we were going on another road trip. I was a junior or I just finished my junior year of college.
And I had just moved out to live with you.
Yeah, we'd been living together for about 6 months.
We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah. And decided to film this road trip. And this time we were like, let's just upload it online. Shane had a small following from that video, from the book he had written.
Small following.
Well, compared to now, you had like 10,000 Instagram followers.
I was doing very well for myself.
You absolutely were. But
I was
we
a
were like,
blossoming author. Thank you very much.
maybe
A small but mighty following.
Oh, very small but mighty. So after 6 months of posting videos, we did that first one about our road trip. Then we did a video every couple of weeks whenever we felt like it over the summer. It was nothing specific.
They were just very silly videos. Like,
Yeah.
we were traveling and we filmed a little like segment in our hotel room.
Yeah.
We told some stories from our life.
Yep.
There was really no larger purpose or message.
Exactly. So after about 6 months, we had 4,000 subscribers. And that was more people than we'd ever assumed would watch our videos.
yeah.
Like we were happy with that.
Uh-huh.
Thought that was cool. It was December of my senior year of college. And we did an interview with another YouTube channel, Special Books by Special Kids. And when that video went live, a bunch of people from that channel went to our channel, watched our videos. A bunch of them subscribed. Our videos all of a sudden made it onto like the main page of YouTube, into the algorithm. And within 2 weeks, we were at 100,000 subscribers. So it was this giant growth all of a sudden that we were not expecting. And we had to sit down and be like, what are we doing?
Every day during that period, we would wake up in just complete shock that 10,000 more people had subscribed to us overnight.
Yep.
We could not believe it.
Yeah.
And that was when we really, made this decision. Like, let's use this platform for good.
Well, and that was the first time that we'd ever gotten rude comments. We had never gotten a mean comment before that because it was literally just like people that had read your book, like nice people being like, oh, look at these cute videos. We would get maybe 6 or 7 comments per video and they would all be like, great video, guys,
Good job.
And then all of a sudden we got hundreds of comments from people being like, this is a fake relationship. There's no way it's real. And the idea of us being fake had never crossed my mind before. Like I didn't think anyone would ever think that. That like blew my mind that people thought we were lying.
Yeah, and it was all based in this idea that I am disabled and use a wheelchair and you are not. And so therefore we are not compatible. And that like I am not worthy of you. You are much better than me. Like or that like there must be something wrong with you to want to be in a relationship with a disabled person.
Yep.
We can go more into that whole
Oh,
topic at another time. But we did, keep making videos with more of a focus from that point. We wanted to fight back against that kind of ignorance and show people the authentic reality of our life and a disabled life, and that's how we kind of began our journey as like real YouTubers.
Yep. And now here we are 4 years later. All right. Now that we have that covered, our history, let's take a quick break and then we'll be back with more about the future of this podcast and our special announcement.
More about our pod baby
Mm-hmm.
and our human babies.
Oh boy.
Big announcement, everyone. Coming up. And we are back. I use that break to get all my burps out. I am a fairly gassy human being.
That's so nice for me.
Hannah loves it. And, when we film our YouTube videos, we can just pause and I can let my burps all out.
And now it's the same for the podcast.
Well, now I have to wait for a break.
Oh.
I'm not going to burp while you're telling a story.
You know how many burps I've edited out of our YouTube
Oh,
videos?
God. I feel so bad for
It's
you.
awful.
I mean, you probably keep them all.
I should have had a blooper
Don't
reel.
lie. You have a folder somewhere. You listen to it to fall asleep. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about kind of what Junkyard Mayhem is, how it came about, and then we'll get into our baby making, which we're doing live on the podcast.
What the heck?
Okay. So I guess let's talk about the name Junkyard Mayhem.
Oh, yes. All right, Shane. This name came about because this is so irritating. Like, I feel bad for myself that this happened to me. When we were planning our wedding, which because of the pandemic was like a 3-year endeavor. It was 2 full years of planning. It was
ridiculous.
absurd and so many changes and all of this. Whenever we would be in meetings with our, event planner or like the venue, they would always ask, what is your like vision for the wedding?
Your aesthetic.
Yeah, do you have a color palette? Like, what do you want this to look like? And Shane and I talked about it. We were like, why don't we say like elegant? The venue we were at was a historic mansion, so we liked the dark wood, all of that stuff. Well, I kid you not, in all of these meetings, Shane would say, Junkyard Mayhem.
I said my aesthetic is kind of like Junkyard Mayhem.
And none of the people at these places would understand that he was kidding. And everyone would be like, huh? Like, what is that exactly? And she would be like, it's nonsense. I'm
I don't
kidding.
really know what it means.
I have no aesthetic.
It sounds really funny as an aesthetic. And especially for a wedding.
Oh, yeah. And people would be like, oh, okay. It never landed. The joke never landed. And Shane just kept doing it.
That is something really interesting. I've found in my lifetime that people who don't know me take a minute to realize when I'm joking.
Oh, yes.
And maybe I'm a very sarcastic person, and I often say things like Junkyard Mayhem that don't really make sense. I'm just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I think that people don't expect me in a wheelchair
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
And they're always so caught off guard. And obviously I can't compare to if a non-disabled person did that because I've never experienced that.
No, but there's definitely something weird about it. You can see people hesitate to laugh.
Uh-huh.
They'll look at me, unsure what's happening.
Well, more explicitly, on our YouTube, when we were intentionally being funny for a whole episode, we get comments that are like, I don't know if I should laugh at him.
Yeah.
That they're afraid.
Is it okay to laugh?
It's taboo.
That's even more obvious when we do short reels or TikToks, whatever, where it's just 5 seconds of very specific joke, sometimes a self-deprecating joke that you'll do, and they're like, I don't think I should laugh, or I'm going to hell for laughing. And we're like, it's a literal joke video. That's the whole point.
That's the point. Shane made this to make you laugh.
Yeah, you can laugh.
But so when we were planning our wedding, I was all about the Junkyard Mayhem, and we talked about that on our YouTube channel, and people thought it was funny, and so I now say that for everything.
Yep.
Even non-wedding items.
Now it's just your aesthetic all the time.
And we've kind of fashioned our studio here to be a bit Junkyard Mayhem-y.
Yeah, we did. We have hideous brown corduroy curtains.
They look like
they're from a different era. They look like we found them in a dumpster.
Yes, as does your chair.
My chair,
which is bright purple.
I found a secondhand chair, bright purple. It's very comfortable.
And it's a Victorian style where it has
tall back.
big tall back with rings on the sides.
Yeah.
It's velvet, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it velvet?
It's soft. It's something like that. I don't know exactly what fabric it is.
It looks like something that a very, very old man would wrap himself in to walk through the house at night.
Oh,
like a robe.
It actually looks exactly like the outfit you wore in the fashion show that we did a couple months ago. So
That's true. I did wear a velvet suit.
A purple velvet suit. This could have been made out of the fabric of that outfit. It also has beautiful wood detailing on the bottom, but can't see that. So I think it's gorgeous.
And then we have these very awkward stools that we're using, those tables.
I didn't need a table. Don't mislead everybody.
Ken had a very big problem with my need for a desk.
Shane was like, I need a desk because I need my laptop. And I was like, I really don't think you need your laptop. And Shane was like, no, I'll need it. What if I have notes? And I was like, do you have notes? And he was like, no, not today. But I need my laptop anyway. So
I'm
now we
staring
have
at my notes right now.
this weird stool that Shane has precariously balanced his laptop. It's like half on. It's just absurd.
If it was all the way on, it wouldn't be Junkyard Mayhem.
Okay.
Junkyard Mayhem is about fear. It's about risk taking.
You should start picking random words.
It is about being a bit unconventional
Okay.
in a world that is trying to force you into a box. It's about bravery.
Wow.
Hannah, you over there with your paper notes, like a teacher or a mechanic.
I argue that my paper notes are more Junkyard Mayhem than your laptop.
The only reason they are Junkyard Mayhem is because when you touch them,
Yeah.
they make noise,
Yeah.
and that's very bad for a podcast.
I can shuffle them around. I can wrinkle my paper. You're quiet over there. It's not very mayhemy.
I bring the mayhem no matter where I go.
Okay.
Speaking of mayhem, I think it's time for our announcement about our pregnancy journey.
Speaking of mayhem, that could not have been a worse transition. It is not mayhem. Do you want to do the honor, Shane? Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
I guess so. Can you give me a drum roll?
Let me move my paper so I'm not clattering.
All right, here's our big announcement.
That's so lackluster.
I love a good drum roll into like not the actual.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Hannah and I have on our YouTube channel been sharing kind of the journey of us having children. It's been a long journey, and in next week's episode, we're going to go much deeper into all of that. So the big news that we are sharing with you today is that Hannah and I have recently begun working with an IVF clinic.
Oh boy, Shane.
Oh, it's moving forward.
Yep. And if you've been following us on YouTube, you know that we posted a video about Shane's fertility results. So we can go into all of this next week when we talk about all of this in detail. But that led us to think about IVF. We thought about that for a couple months, and we've had some appointments. We have some more things coming up.
Trigger.
Yeah, we're in it now. So
yes, so we're very excited to bring you along on that new journey.
Yep.
And we're going to talk a whole lot more about that next week.
So next week, we're going to go into all kinds of specifics about this. But for now, thank you for listening to our first episode.
We did it.
It's over.
We recorded it.
Oh my
Oh my,
gosh.
did you hit record? Oh no. No, yeah. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Please come back next week and subscribe. Leave us a review if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it,
No review for you.
I honestly hope that misery befalls you
Wow.
for the rest of your days.
Just because they didn't like the podcast, huh? Wow.
Get in line. Leave a review.
What?
Leave 5 stars. And you can also visit our website, squirmygrubs.com. You can visit us on YouTube, Instagram. We're all over the place, basically.
Yeah.
TikTok. I forget all the places that we are.
Facebook, I mean.
Facebook.
You can find us anywhere.
But thank you for listening. We don't really have a sign out. We need to make one, probably.
We'll come up with one by next week.
It's a junkyard out there. Let's see what we can dig up.
There it is.
It doesn't really make sense for the
Okay.
end of an episode. All right, bye.